Chapter 12, Lesson 1, Line Plots. You will be able to construct and analyze line plots. One way to give a picture of data is to make a line plot. A line plot is a visual display of a distribution of data values where each data value is shown as a dot or other mark, usually an X, above a number line. A line plot is also known as a dot plot because sometimes dots are above the number line. Jasmine asked her class how many pets they had. The results are shown in the table. Make a line plot of the data, then describe the data presented in the graph. So what we're going to do here, we first start off with a number line. Our numbers range from 0 to 4. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the number line. And all of our numbers are whole numbers as we're talking about pets. So there will be no X's in between our numbers here. So everywhere we see a number, we're going to put an X. So for example, there's a 3 as our first number. We're going to place an X above the 3 on the number line. Then we have 2, 2 again, 1, 3, 1, 0, 1, 0, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 1, 4, 2, 2, 1, oops, 2, 2, 3, 0, and 2. Okay, it looks like we have 4 by 6, we have 24 numbers, so we should have 24 X's. Let's just double check. I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So we do have 24 X's, and we're going to also title our graph, and I'm going to use the same title that's in our table. So we'll call this number of pets as our title. Okay. Now all that's left to do is describe the data. First of all, let's write that there are 24 students surveyed. So 24 students were surveyed. Okay. The next thing we can say, if we take a look at your maximum and minimum values. Only 2 people had 4 pets, and 4 students had no pets. And since 4 was the maximum, that means no one had more than 4 pets. So let's write that down. No one had more than 4 pets. And 4 students had no pets. We also want to take note of at the mode, which number of pets was the largest. So the mode is 2. It's the number of pets that occurs most often, which means that 2 pets was the most common. So in your description, you're just jotting down some information that you can gather from the data, from the graph itself. Letter B. Javier asked the members of his 4-H club how many projects they were taking. The results are shown in the table. Make a line plot of the data, then describe the data in the graph. So again, let's put X's on our number line. We have, I'm going to do a couple at a time, 2, 4, 3. So 2, oops. I'll move this Make this a little smaller here. Move it over. Okay. So 2, 4, 3, 3, 1, 0. 5, 4, 2. 2, 1, 3. And 2, 1, 2. Okay, I have 3 by 5. That means there are 15 data values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Great, now let's describe the data. Well, I know there are 15 members were surveyed, so let's write that down. 15 members were surveyed. Okay. No one is taking more than 5 projects. Our maximum is 5. We also know that one person, one member, is taking no projects. And let's talk about the mode. The mode, again, here is 2, which means that 2 projects is the most common. One thing I did forget is a title, so let's go ahead and throw that title up here. Number of projects. Again, just keeping it the same as the table. There we go. Analyze line plots. You can describe a set of data using measures of center as well as measures of variability. The range of data and any outliers are also useful in describing the data. The line plot shows the prices of cowboy hats. Find the median, mode, range, and any outliers of the data, then describe the data using them. The first thing we're going to do is to order our data from least to greatest. I have 2 x's on 30, so I have 30 twice. I have 35 3 times. Make this a little smaller. 40 3 times. 45 3 times. 54 times. Then 75. So here is our data. Let's go ahead, let me make this a different color so it sticks out. Let's go ahead and find our minimum, maximum, and all of that stuff. So here's the minimum at 30. And here's the maximum at 75. Let's go ahead and find the median. Looks like it's in between 40 and 45. So we add 40 plus 45 and divide by 2. We get a median of 42.5. And we do have to find outliers eventually, so let's find our first and third quartiles. Okay, quartile 1 is between 35 and 35. Add them, divide by 2, we get 35. And quartile 3 is between 50 and 50. Add them, divide by 2, we still get 50. Okay. So we do need to know the median, mode, range, and any outliers. To find outliers, we need to know the inner quartile range, so I will find that as well. All right. The median we have already. The median is 42.5. And I'm just going to jot down what that means. It means that half of the data, or cowboy hats in this case, cost more than $42.50. It also means that half of the cowboy hats cost less than $42.50. Make this a little smaller so we can add more information. Okay. The mode equals, well, the number that occurs most often I can see is 50 because it's the tallest. The mode is 50, which means that $50 is the most common price for cowboy hats. The range is our largest value minus our smallest value. So our range is going to be 75 minus 30, which equals 45. That one I'm just going to jot down as 45. Okay, which means that the prices have a range of $45. It's a little self-explanatory there, but we'll just jot it down. The other thing we need to know are outliers. Well, in order to find our outliers, we have to first find our inner quartile range. To find our inner quartile range, we're going to subtract quartile 3 minus quartile 1. So 50 minus 35 gives us an IQR of 15. So what we do with that 15 is we multiply it by 1.5, which gives us 2250. We're going to subtract our first quartile by 2250, and we're going to add our third quartile to 2250. When we do that, we get 1250 over here, and we get 7250 over here. So any numbers that are outside of this range here are considered outliers. Well, my smallest number, my minimum, is 30, which is well in this range. However, my largest number is 75, which is outside of this range. So I do have an outlier of $75. And we don't have to describe that. We can leave it as is. Okay. Letter B. The line plot shows the number of magazines each member of the student council sold. Find the median, mode, range, and any outliers of the data. Then describe the data using them. So first thing we do is order them from least to greatest. 17, 18, 18. It looks like I have 5 20s. 3 23s, 24, and 2 25s. Okay, let's find our minimum, maximum, median, and our first and third quartiles. The minimum is 17. The maximum is 25. Let's go ahead and find the median. Looks like it's in between the two 20s. Add them up, divide by 2, we get 20. Our first quartile is at 20. Our Our third quartile is at 23. Okay. So first let's start with our median. Median equals 20, which means half of the students sold more than 20 magazines and half of the students sold less than 20 magazines. The mode, 20 occurs most often, so 20 is also the mode, which means that 20 magazines was the most common quantity sold. The range, we take the largest number and subtract the smallest number. So to find our range, we take 25 minus 17. When we do that, we get 8. So the range is 8 magazines. And again, that's pretty self-explanatory, so we don't need to expand on that. And we need to know if there are any outliers. To find outliers, we need to find the interquartile range. To find the interquartile range, we take our quartile 3 of 23 minus our quartile 1 of 20, and we get 3. Once we get that IQR, we're going to multiply it by 1.5 and get 4.5. We'll subtract that 4.5 from quartile 1, and we'll add 4.5 to quartile 3. When we do that, we get 15.5, and we get 27.5. Now, any numbers outside of this range are considered outliers. 17 is our minimum number. It is in between, so 17 is not an outlier. And 25, our maximum, is also in between, so therefore we have no outliers. Letter C. The line plot shows the amount James deposited in his savings account each month. Describe the data, include measures of center and variability. So let's list our data. We have 335s, 40, 45, 45. It looks like 5 50s and a 75. Let's go ahead and find all of our information. The minimum is 35. The maximum is 75. The median is between 45 and 50. Add them up, 45 plus 50, divide by 2. We have 47.5. Our quartiles, our first quartile is between 35 and 40. Add them up, divide by 2. We get 37.5. Our third quartile is between 50 and 50. Add them up, divide by 2, and we get 50. I'm going to go ahead and find the range and interquartile range just to get started here. So the range would be our 75 minus 30, which is 45. I'm sorry, 75 minus 35, which is 40. And our interquartile range would be 50 minus 37.5, which is 1250, or 12.5. Okay. Now this problem is slightly different from the other two because it just says to include the measures of center and variability. It doesn't specify which ones, therefore we need to write them all. So we have our mean is a measure of center. To find the mean, we're going to add all of these numbers up and divide by the total amount. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we will add them all up and divide by 12. When we do that, we get 46.67, which is a rounded value. We are talking about money here, so I rounded to 2 decimal places. The median, which is the middle number, is 47.5. Again, it's money, so I'm going to write 47.50. The mode is $50. The range we figured out is $40. The interquartile range is $12.50. And we're going to also find the outlier. To find the outlier, we need our IQR. We're going to take that IQR and multiply it by 1.5. So 12.5 times 1.5 is 18.75. We're going to subtract 18.75 here and add 18.75 on our third quartile. We get 18.75 on the first quartile, and we get 68.75 on the third quartile. So we are looking for any numbers that are not in that range. 35, our minimum, is within that range, so it's not an outlier. 75 is outside of that range, therefore our outlier is $75. Now another way that you can describe your data, instead of doing each piece individually, we can summarize it into a couple sentences. So the first thing we're going to take a look at, I've got a lot of my data between the values of 35 and 50. I do have this outlier way over here, but generally speaking, between 35 and 50 is most of my data. And if you look, the measures of center are fairly close to that range as well, more on the upper side, upper part of it, but the majority of the data are close to the measures of center. And I do want to jot something down about the median. So let's write the first one down. We have the majority of the data are close to the measures of center. Again, your measures of center are mean, median, and mode. And let's talk about the median. Half of the amounts are over $47.50, and half of the amounts are less than $47.50. I'm also going to jot down that half of our amounts are between, and I'm going to list our first and third quartile, $37.50 and $50. So with our interquartile range, half of my data is here, between $37.50 and $50. There are 6 data values here out of a total of 12, so that's also where half of my data is. Letter D. The line plot shows the prices of sweater in a store. Describe the data, include measures of center and variability. So again, we're going to do all the measures of center and variability. First thing, of course, is to list our data from least to greatest. And then we will find our information out from the data. Our minimum is 25. Our maximum is 65. The median is between 30 and 30, which means add them and divide by 2, and you get 30. Our first quartile is at 25. And our third quartile is at 40. And I'm going to go ahead and find my range and interquartile range as well. Range, I take the maximum minus the minimum. And I get a range of 40. The interquartile range, I take quartile 3, which is 40, minus quartile 1, which is 25. And when I do that, I get an interquartile range of 15. I'm also going to go ahead and see if there are any outliers. I take the 15 and multiply it by 1.5. When I do that, I get 2250, or 22.5. Going to subtract 22.5 from the first quartile. I'm going to add 22.5 to the third quartile. When I do that, I get 2.5 and 62.5. So any numbers not in that range are considered outliers. My minimum of 25 is within that range, so 25 is not an outlier. However, 65 is not in that range, so 65 is an outlier. Let's go ahead and jot all this information down. We have mean, median, mode, range, interquartile range, and the outlier. We are talking about prices again. So the mean, we need to add up all the values and divide by the total amount. There are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 amounts. So when we add them all up, we get 350 divided by 10 gives us a mean price of $35. The median we figured out to be $30. The mode, the one that occurs most often, is $25. The range is 40. The interquartile range is 15. And we found that our outlier is $65. So then let's just do a general explanation here. The majority of our prices are between 25 and 45. Actually, I would even argue 25 and 30, which our measures of center are close to. So let's jot that down. The majority of the prices are between $25 and $45. Let's talk about the median. Half of the prices are above $30 and half are below $30. And let's also mention the interquartile range. Half of our values are between 25 and 40 as well. Half of the prices are between $25 and $40.